Welcome to Dr. Jester Rants, and I'm gonna rant about something very retarded, especially because it's considered traitorous for these people. These people are absolutely cultists, to the point that it makes you question if they really know they are in a cult. Because all the red flags of, hey, you're in a cult, are out there. But anyway, before I go on, I'm thinking of taking the weekends off in making a video, unless there's something earth-shattering and butt-fuckingly absurd. Then I'll do the video on those days. Consider it a special segment, something like that. But otherwise, I'm thinking of taking those days off, rest, enjoy, probably continue on my book that I started since the ban fucked up my bunghole, or things like that. Coffee. And another thing, I got a bit of a stiff neck. My pillow began to be a bit problematic. I do not know what is happening. The last couple of days it have been terrifyingly bad for my neck. I'm using a memory foam pillow. It's a bit old. It's probably over 6-7 years right now. I still love that pillow because it's actually quite comfy, but the last couple of days have been miserable. So maybe I'm gonna have to look for another pillow somewhere. The goddamn boxes that's piling up my home in here. There's probably one that I can use. And I'll take care of my nose as well, because it's probably going to be dusty as fuck. Either way, let me continue with the news. Shall we? With the cultists from the Blaze. Caitlyn Jenner labeled traitor after saying women's sports must be protected from transgender athletes. She's absolutely correct. Like I've said in multiple videos, there is a very, very, very huge difference physically between men and women. Yes, men have a tendency to be stronger, faster. They also have better spatial awareness than women. For instance, I'm gonna repeat on every single transgender content that there is, so it drills on your head. And probably the idiots who watch this for the first time, including SJWs, learn something. We, males, were evolved for hunting. We are obviously exhaustion-based hunters, as in we cause our prey to run and run until they have heat exhaustion. They need to stop, open their mouths so they can cool their system and rest, and then continue moving. And this is an advantage for multiple species, because they all had the same system. Tigers, lions, and things like that. Even wolves. They all hunted, but they were sprint hunters. As in, they also had the same cooling system as the herbivores, so they needed to be fast. Really, really fast. Us, we don't technically need that, because our cooling system is our skin. As in, yes, we sweat. Sweating gives us the cooling we need. So, once sweating, we can keep on running while those filthy, grass-eating, imbecilic mammals are all still feeding on grass, or they need to stop to pant. We go and kill them. And we also use our brains. So, with that being said, our bodies were made for those physicalities. Meanwhile, women are technically more apt at sorting out colors, patterns, and certain things. For instance, when for a man, when they focus on an object, they focus on that object, everything else becomes the background. For women, everything is the background. So there is a very big difference in perception and things like that. There is a difference between male and women. Yes, that's why when a man marries a woman, it completes each other. When the man is lacking on something, that woman, yes, it completes that lacking of the man. And when that woman is lacking something, man completes that. It's simple as that. It's not mind-boggling, not earth-shattering. There's even gender differences with the kid. There's only 2 genders, and the kid is still a kid. Even that stands to other primates. They prefer vehicles more engineering-based toys. Boys prefer those things. Meanwhile, girls, even the female monkeys on primates, still prefer other fluffy, doll-like things. They all have differences. It's not a spectrum. There's nothing extra or absurd or anything like that. It's what it is. God, why do I actually have to teach that? It's not like, well, turns out that lately people who slept during their biology, there's a mosquito flying here and I'm trying to guard my blood. Fuck you, mosquito, don't suck my blood. Anyway, it seems that the people in power right now, people who are absolutely insane or part of the cult, all slept throughout their biology classes back in high school. And even this is, well, everything I taught here, some obviously are part of university grade teachings, but most of them are part of high school and things like that. I don't get it. Why? Yeah. There's also another thing. There's also the question: testosterone makes you go faster and makes you stronger, which is why doping. You cannot take testosterone when you're in sports. And women cannot take testosterone as well in sports because it's considered doping. Yes. Another thing, we also have structural differences in our skulls. That's why it is easy to identify not only racial differences and ethnicities when you are looking at a skull, but also gender differences. Yes, there's for instance, males have a hook around here and a hook around here in our skulls. Those are used for extra muscles, once again, for using our mouth as another set of hands. For instance, for carrying a knife or something in our mouths while our 2 hands are busy doing something else. Exactly. That's how we evolved. It's the differences. This makes a difference. That's why trans women cannot and should not participate on female sports, on girl sports. It will take away the opportunities that women have. For instance, a girl would join into a sport, trying to be good at it for a scholarship or something, or trying to reach the dream of participating in the Olympics, and then suddenly a fat little trans woman, a formerly biological male, who is barely doing anything at all in training anything, beats her in sports, and she gets the scholarship, and the actual biological lady, the girl, is left hanging, and her dreams are lost and things like that. This is the problem I'm dealing with, and I absolutely agree with Caitlyn Jenner on this. And she is a transgender, so she knows about all of those things. Anyway, let's go and deal with the backlash she received. Caitlyn Jenner, one of the most famous transgender people, said Saturday that transgender biological bodies should not be allowed to compete in women's sports. Correct. Jenner commented on a controversial issues about 1 week after announcing she was running for governor of California. I saw the mosquito. I'm gonna have to hunt that goddamn piece of shit. I'm gonna have to bring my ancestors on my mainly hunting things and hunt for the goddamn filthy mosquito. Anyway, Jenner is seeking the office of a Republican in a special election that was triggered after activists gathered more than 2 million signatures to recall Governor Gavin Newsom. Absolutely awesome. Anyway, speaking with TMZ, Jenner said the issue boils down to fairness and protecting the integrity of women's sports. Correct. This is a question of fairness, Jenner, who won the gold medal for men's decathlon at the 1976 Olympics, said. That's why I oppose biological boys who are trans competing in girls' sports in schools. It just isn't fair. Correct. And we have to protect the girls' sports in our schools, Jenner added. Absolutely 100% correct. She is correct. Look, I support trans rights. I support your right to transition. Obviously, I dislike ma'am genders, but Caitlyn Jenner here is an actual transgender woman who made out the effort to look like a woman, doing everything else. Correct. And I support the right to do the bathroom you prefer based on your gender. Obviously, I find it absolutely a pickle with those balding ma'am genders, but that's a discussion for another time. But she is absolutely correct here. Based on everything I've just explained, this is why you cannot put trans women in girls' sports. It destroys them. Anyway, Jenner declined to answer a follow-up question asking whether her perspective was delegitimizing of a transgender person's identity. Let me answer for that. No, it does not. It just means it's a biological thing. There's a biology behind it. There's a biological reason behind it. You cannot ignore biology. You cannot ignore science and base all your decisions on fifis. Religious lunatics back in those days were ignored science based on fifis. It didn't work back then. It will not work now, no matter what cult behind that decision is. Doesn't matter if it's Christianity, Islam, or intersectionalism. Religion should not have a word on science-based decisions. Anyway, however, Jenner later said on Twitter that her position is clear. I agree. I didn't expect to get asked this on my Saturday morning coffee run, but I'm clear about where I stand. It's an issue of fairness, and we need to protect girls' sports in our schools. Jenner tweeted, I agree. In response, Jenner was labeled a traitor. Obviously, it's the demographic, the new religion is called intersectionality. They all have their own saints. George Floyd is a saint, and protector saint of the looters. But anyway, Greta Thunberg is another saint. They all have their gods and deities that they praise, albeit some of them includes Ruth Bader Ginsburg and many other deities that they all praise. They all have multiple names. They're called gods and goddesses. Yeah, let's read this. What sort of voice should I make for this? I think I have an idea. You're such a traitor, Caitlyn Jenner. We need to protect girls' sports from all the girls now. And fairness, don't you know how testosterone blockers work? Let me answer that. You can use testosterone blockers. It will make not much of a difference, because you're still having that big fat muscle you develop. I think I got bitten here somewhere, it's itchy. It doesn't stop the muscle, it doesn't dissolve the muscle, you can weaken it, but it's still going to be there, giving you a huge advantage when you're competing against a woman. And then there is still the fact that your bones are larger, you're taller. It will give you a huge advantage over the other female. The average height of a woman is much smaller than the average height of a man. Yeah, I can't believe I have to go through all of this. It's like I'm teaching kids. Can you stop pretending to speak for anyone but yourself? yourself and your financial interests. Can you stop pretending to speak for you for anyone but yourself, Twitter, another person? It is another person. Can you stop being a fucking moron and let Caitlyn Jenner speak for herself? Anyway, I am the only trans girl who shouldn't be allowed to run when everybody else is you. Now, who is this person? He is a retard. Equality for me, inequality for thee. Another person mocked. Well, this imbecile obviously failed at biology classes, science classes. Anyway, most alphabet activists say that gender identity rather than biological sex should be the determining factor for kids who play sports. This is fifis. It should not be that. Biological sex is what determines who plays sports, at what group. Anyway, however, there is a widespread disagreement about that, and states are taking action to protect the integrity of women's sports. Correct. This year, numerous states have passed bills prohibiting transgender athletes from competing in sports that correspond with their gender identity, including Alabama, Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, and West Virginia. Florida will become the 5th state to enact such laws. Come on, Texas! Man, do it! Anyway, while South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem enacted an executive order on the issue, more states are needed to do that. Dozens of other states are considering similar legislation. In response, alphabet activists are pressuring corporations to affirm their view on sexuality and gender. And like I said, no matter what religion you're from, changing science is not going to work if it's based on fifis. Anyway, denouncing the opposition to their perspective as discrimination. The Human Rights Campaign, for example, is even pressuring the NCAA to not hold events in states that enact legislation that protects women's sports. However, as Associated Press noted, there has not been actual backlash against the bills, indicating the bills have won overall approval. Still, alphabet activists promise future repercussions. How dare guys, how dare you go against my religion? A lot of Americans are still getting to know trans people, and they are learning about these issues for the first time. Rodrigo Handlantinen, Deputy Executive Director of the National Center for Transgender Equality, told the AP, all the time, they get to know their trans neighbors, they get outraged by these bans, and corporations' response is just a matter of time. So you're pressuring them, you are trying to cancel them and attacking them over this, isn't it? That's what you're trying to tell us, Because it sounds like it. These people are absolutely insane. Do they actually think that their religion will trump scientific facts, biological differences like that because fifis told me to? No. Anyway, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Fuck you, YouTube. On youtube.com/Jester. Fuck you, YouTube. If you want exclusive content, head to BitChute.com/Jester or Minds.com/Jester. They all have a different thumbnail for the exclusive content, so you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, thank you for watching. Have a very good night. And remember, don't let religion and fifis stop or interfere with actual factual information or science. Anyway, once again, good night.